Do I make you wince? Is this color something that you fear? Why would it bother you that I do what I do? And when you talk about self-love, am I allowed to do the same, or are the rules different once there's a little bit of a change? And I'm not trying to fit in. I've never been inside the box, but I guess that's part of the reason that I've had so many hard knocks. You see, in elementary school, my father came and he left with both my brothers. He took 75% of my family and said that I'd be better off with my mother. And he left me a gold locket, and he said he'd always love me, but then it mysteriously disappeared too, so I don't know what to believe. And then my mama had this boyfriend who had a thing for little girls, and I didn't get much sleep after he entered my private world. And I pushed furniture in front of my door, and I put pots and pans on the floor, and my mama got mad at me and said, "Don't you do that shit no more." And I don't think she ever knew, or maybe she was just in denial. I just know for 4 damn years I didn't crack a smile. Then off to middle school, I'm still inside this bubble. I guess nobody ever understood that my head held all these troubles. And there's like 2,000 kids, and I found 3 that would let me eat at their table. And they fought battles too, but we all smiled when we were able. You see, I was always an outcast, was awkward and quiet. But since you know me now, you might not even buy it. And my 3 friends were the only blacks. Oh no, so, now a part of my family had a problem with that. And then in the middle of 7th grade, me, my mom, and her new fiance all came to VA. And I was only 12 years old, so I really didn't have a say. And I started a new school in the middle of the year, and I was oh so different. Everyone made that clear. And they talked about my accent and my style of dress, and they talked about my hair till I was under duress. Only now the new school I went to had me in culture shock, because now the blacks weren't the geeks. They were the ones that were hot.
Oh my God.
And they played sports, and they knew how to rhyme, and I've been a poet since the beginning of time, but, I tried to stay lily white so my family could sleep at night. And I listened to Guns N' Roses and Skid Row and Ozzy and Motley Crue. But by the time high school came, the real me started showing through. And I was one of the first white girls to openly date black, wearing African medallions and door-knocking earrings and having airbrush on my back. But there was this one white boy who just couldn't stand it, and he was going to get me. This is what he demanded. But he couldn't have me if he was the last dude on the planet. So instead, he beat me and he raped me. And he was over 100 pounds bigger, and I'll never forget what he said. "You're going to give it to me if you'll fucking do." And I wanted to be punished, but I was threatened and harassed, and I had random rednecks threatened to come and beat my ass. And my so-called boyfriend left me because he couldn't handle the questions and insinuations, and I had to take time out from school for a mental health vacation. And I even called my dad trying to get away from the situation, but he was more like a cop and had me under interrogation. He said, "I already know what you want. I've already talked to your mother, and you're not going to come back here and embarrass me by fucking with them colors." Wow. So once again, I was rejected by a man whose job was to keep me protected. So I had to stay. So I threw the shot and disc, and I lifted weights, and I had people coming at me from all directions riddled with hate. And I was a football manager and a sports trainer. I ran in and outdoor track, and I brought my mannequin head to practice, and people even had to talk about that. But then I started winning hair competitions, and I'd get a job to pay the rest of my college tuition. But, of course, then I got pregnant by my boyfriend who was at a different school, and my mama couldn't stand us, that made him really damn cool. And he was a bird with broke wings, and I could fix his problems, and I stayed for 4 damn years and was never able to solve them. And fast forward, I married a different brother, and I had 3 more awesome kids, and I stayed with him for almost 10 years through all the trifling ass shit he did. And then I left him. And then I fell in love for the very first time. God took me from these nickels, and he gave me a dime. And it had to be fate. Or us pulled at each other. We brought out the very best things in one another. And we wrote and we laughed and we smiled together. And I could stay in his arms and be happy forever. He was my daddy to my girls, my best friend and my lover. The yin to my yang, I would trade for no other. My dreadlock poet, my heart had been healed, and I felt love, and it was oh so real. Yeah, oh so real. I was blessed for a time with his beauty, inspiration, and passion, and then God took him back. That's exactly what happened. And it hurts like hell, so just add it to the pile, because I know that life is a blessing, but I feel like I'm always on trial. And life is a journey, it's not a destination, so stay true to yourself and forget those who try to tarnish your reputation. Because love knows no boundaries, and pigment's not contingent, and you can't wash away either with the most powerful astringent. And I know I'm not black, that's obvious and clear, but I was looking for love my whole life, and I ended up here.